Good evening to you.
Good evening, Chris. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Do you worry about Christchurch being seen now as the country's capital of crime, given all the youth crime that this city is facing in recent months?
It is very alarming to see what's happening in the city. We have, and the money has arrived. We'll talk about the Three Waters Tranche 1 funding, which we got 32 million of. 2 million of that is going towards fighting crime with new CCTV cameras, new roving people walking around the city, and probably down to Linwood as well, because it's not just the central city, it's other places. So we're going to spread it around a bit and make sure we try and head this off at the pass to stop it getting it on top of us.
Okay, so CCTV cameras is probably a step in the right direction, but doesn't seem to stop the youth offenders. In fact, they seem even more emboldened and brazen to commit crime now. So what else is in the kitty?
Well, we've got a number of groups that work together. I'm actually having a meeting with them in the morning because there's another person that's come in who used to be very high up in the police, who is now semi-retired, who is going to work with these guys to pull it all together. I'm not saying they haven't been doing a good job, but there's an extra iron in the fire. So I'm really looking forward to that tomorrow morning.
Builder residents held a public meeting last week saying not enough was being done to curb crime, particularly youth crime. Do you agree with their assessment?
Sorry, was that Burwood, did you say?
Yeah.
It might not seem that there's a lot being done, but there is a lot being done. I can assure you, there's a lot of people working very hard to make sure that we don't get out of control.
What do you make of the thoughts that some members of the public have had saying that Christchurch now no longer feels safe? It doesn't feel like a garden city anymore. In fact, many are calling it crime church. People just don't like what's happening in our city. I mean, you had a priest, the story that Chris Lynch Media broke of the priest that was walking to a chaplain service in Christchurch Hospital and gets beaten up in Fendleton. I mean, the crime is everywhere.
Yes, no, we have got to try harder, and this money will go a lot towards it. We've got to try harder to make Christchurch a safe place, safer, if people are worried, but a safe place to do your business and have fun and go out and enjoy yourself.
Let's talk about this money from the government that's been given to the council. Where is the Christchurch City Council at in terms of Three Waters? Because some councils say this new model still doesn't allow councils a greater say in the water entities, despite the government's spin. But I take it the Christchurch City Council has said yes to the government's cash. Almost feels like a bit of a bribe.
There were two tranches of money that were proposed to go out. The first $32 or $34 million of tranche 1 we've got. The second was $90 million, which the government have decided to hang on to for restructuring the now 10 entities instead of the 4. So that 90 is gone, unfortunately. We hadn't relied on that. We hadn't spent it or hadn't budgeted for it, but we have asked for and got the 32 million that we in tranche 1, and that's what's going. 2 million of that is going towards the crime in the city.
I just don't understand, why is the government giving the council money?
It was termed better off funding, and the deal was that you didn't have to spend it on water or anything like that. You spend it on whatever you like. It didn't come with any strings attached. So we put one thing we have done is given the community boards an extra $500,000 each, so that they know what's going on in the community. People can go and apply for that. So it helps it get out to make things better off out in the community.
I mean, no one would argue it's great to have money from the government. It kind of feels like shut up money, doesn't it? Here's a couple of $1 million if you say yes or agree with our water reforms.
Oh yeah, I'm still totally against the water reforms. I went and I've met with the Minister of Local Government, Kevin McAnulty. He's a nice guy. I get on real well with him. I'm sure I've got his phone number. I could pick him up and have a yarn to him anytime I like. When we went up and met him, he said, I've been told by the Prime Minister and Cabinet to sort this out as best I can. And they probably gave him a hand grenade with no pin in it and said, here, do your best you can with this. He has listened to some of the concerns that we had. I went out with Mayor's consensus with Wayne Brown and a lot of the others, and they have listened to some of that, not all of it. It's still not ideal. I sort of worry that it's going to end up like Polytechs, the health system, and Three Waters, unfortunately, I think is heading down the same track. But he's done the best he can with what he's got. And we've been dealt a hand of cards, and we've got to say, there's no use sitting in the corner saying, oh, throw our toys out of the cot. We've got to make the best of what we've been given. And if people want to change it, there's always October coming up. So he's done the best he can with the information he had, and probably the pressure that he was getting from the other side as well. So I've got a lot of respect for him.
Academics aren't happy with the Christchurch Airport's push for the Taurus Airport. What is the council's position on this, given it owns the airport, and what's your personal view?
The airport is owned by Christchurch City Holdings, which I must say I'm very pleased that we got 4 new directors in there yesterday. We've all got a good business lens and mind on them. But Christchurch Airport is owned by CCHL. Just as far as Terrace goes, because that's the main issue at the moment, it hasn't been in for a resource consent. It will be years in the making, and if it doesn't stack up, it won't happen. There's no way the council are going to bury money into the ground there if it doesn't happen.
Okay. Do you think it should happen?
For a start, I thought, oh, this is absolutely daft. But now I've sort of come around to, well, let's go through the process. If it doesn't stack up, it shouldn't happen, because it will impact on Christchurch Airport. But we're still the gateway to the South Island and Antarctica here in Christchurch, which is very good for us. But Queenstown will always want to have international travellers, and Queenstown Airport is up to capacity at the moment. So people, not necessarily us, others may look at putting an airport down that way. So it's a strategic sort of position to see where it happens. It may not work, and as I say, if it don't stack up, it's definitely not happening.